It was a Friday night, and Emily stood outside the restaurant clutching her small purse and nervously glancing at the door. The lights of La Piazza, the city's most elegant Italian restaurant, glowed warmly against the evening chill. She took a deep breath, smoothed her hair, and glanced down at the little hand she was holding. "Are you okay, Mommy?" asked Liam, her 6-year-old son, his blue eyes filled with curiosity and innocence. Emily knelt down and smiled softly. "Yes, sweetheart. Mommy's just a little nervous. We're meeting someone tonight, remember? The nice man from the computer?" Liam asked, tilting his head. She nodded. "Yes, his name is Alexander." She had met Alexander through an online dating app, something she never thought she'd try. It had been years since her divorce, and between 2 jobs and raising Liam alone, her life left no room for romance. But Alexander had been different. Polite, thoughtful, never pushy. He had asked about her life, her son, her dreams. He didn't seem like the others who disappeared the moment she mentioned she was a single mother. Still, she hadn't told him that she would be bringing Liam tonight. Their babysitter had canceled last minute, and Emily couldn't afford to lose her job again by being late or skipping commitments. So with a mix of guilt and hope, she texted Alexander before entering the restaurant. "Hi, Alexander. I hope this is okay, but I brought my son with me tonight. Our babysitter canceled last minute. I completely understand if you'd rather reschedule." She stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity before the 3 dots appeared. "You brought your son?" Her heart sank. She was ready for the inevitable rejection, the excuse about being busy or not feeling well, but then another message appeared. "Of course that's okay. Come in, I can't wait to meet you both." Emily's breath caught. She reread it twice, her heart thudding in disbelief. Hand in hand, she entered the restaurant. The waiter guided her to a table by the window, where Alexander was already seated. He stood as soon as he saw her. A tall man in his early 30s, sharp suit, calm eyes, and a smile that looked both confident and kind. "Emily?" he asked, stepping forward. "And you must be Liam." Emily felt her cheeks warm. "Hi, Alexander. I'm so sorry for bringing him. I really didn't want to cancel on you." But Alexander shook his head. "Please don't apologize. I'm glad you did." He bent slightly to meet Liam's eyes. "Hey there, buddy. You like pizza?" Liam grinned instantly. "I love pizza." "Well, you're in the right place then," Alexander said, motioning to the menu. "Let's find the best one." Emily sat, a little stunned. Most men she'd met before couldn't even pretend to hide their discomfort around kids. But Alexander, he seemed natural, patient. He asked Liam about school, his favorite cartoons, even his favorite superhero. And Liam, usually shy around strangers, began talking nonstop. By the time the food arrived, Emily realized she hadn't felt this relaxed in years. She watched Alexander laugh at one of Liam's silly jokes, and something in her heart softened. "So," Alexander said, turning to her, "tell me about you, Emily. I already know you're strong and brave enough to handle a 6-year-old on your own, so that's impressive enough." She laughed quietly. "It's not easy, I'll admit. I work as a cashier during the day and clean offices at night. It's exhausting, but he's worth it." Her eyes drifted to Liam, who was busy constructing a pizza tower on his plate. Alexander nodded slowly. "You're doing more than most people ever would. I admire that." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. But just as she started to respond, a voice cut through the air from the next table. "Alexander Grant? Is that you?" A woman in a sparkling red dress stood up, shocked. Emily turned to see her, a wave of confusion washing over her face. The name Grant echoed in her mind. Was that the Alexander Grant? The tech CEO whose company dominated headlines? Alexander's smile faltered slightly, but he nodded politely. "Good evening, Veronica." The woman's eyes darted between Emily, Liam, and Alexander. "You're having dinner with a child? Oh, how unexpected." Her tone was sugar-coated but dripping with mockery. Emily's face burned. She wanted to disappear. She tried to stand, but Alexander reached out and gently touched her hand. "Please don't," he whispered. Then he turned to Veronica, his expression calm but firm. "Yes, I am. And they're both wonderful company, if you'll excuse us." Veronica blinked, stunned, and quickly muttered something before walking away. Emily's heart was pounding. "You didn't have to—" "Yes, I did," he interrupted softly. No one has the right to make you feel small, not here. Not ever. She met his gaze, and for a moment, the noisy restaurant faded away. After dinner, Alexander offered to walk them home. Emily hesitated, but it was late, and the bus had stopped running. As they walked down the quiet street, Liam held Alexander's hand, chatting about dinosaurs and superheroes. Alexander listened like every word was the most important thing in the world. When they reached her small apartment building, Emily turned to him. "Thank you. For tonight, you were amazing with Liam. And thank you for not walking away when I said I brought him." Alexander smiled gently. "You shouldn't thank me for doing the right thing, Emily." She laughed softly, trying to hide the tears that threatened to fall. Still, most men would have. "I'm not most men," he said quietly. And then he did something she never expected. He crouched down, looked Liam in the eyes and said, "Hey, buddy, can I ask you a favor?" Liam nodded eagerly. "Can I take your mom out again next week? Maybe somewhere with ice cream?" Liam laughed. "Only if I can come too." Alexander grinned. "Deal." That night, when Emily tucked Liam into bed, he whispered, "Mommy, I like him. He's nice. He listens." Emily smiled, brushing his hair back. "Yeah, sweetheart. He is." Over the next few weeks, Alexander became a constant in their lives. He visited on weekends, helped Liam with his homework, brought groceries when Emily was too tired to cook. But it wasn't about grand gestures, it was the little things. The way he remembered Liam's favorite cereal, or how he fixed the broken lamp in their living room. Without being asked, Emily couldn't help but wonder why a man like him, a billionaire CEO, was spending time with a single mom who barely made rent. One evening, as they sat on the couch after dinner, she finally asked, "Why me, Alexander? You could be with anyone." He looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because when I met you, you didn't care about who I was. You didn't try to impress me or flatter me. You were just real. And I've spent my whole life surrounded by people who aren't." His voice was soft, but his eyes burned with truth. "And Liam, he reminds me what love looks like when it's pure." Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. "You're too good to be true," he chuckled. "I'm not. I'm just lucky." Months passed, and Alexander's bond with Liam grew deeper. He taught him how to ride a bike, took him to the zoo, and even attended his school's family day. The teachers whispered, wondering who this well-dressed man was sitting on the floor building Lego towers with the kids. But Emily saw something no one else did. Alexander wasn't pretending. He wasn't doing it to impress anyone. He was genuinely happy. One rainy afternoon, Emily came home early from work to find Alexander and Liam asleep on the couch, a book open between them. She stood there for a long time just watching, and in that moment she realized she wasn't alone anymore. The woman who had walked into a restaurant months ago, nervous and scared, had found something she thought she'd lost forever: hope. A few weeks later, Alexander invited her and Liam to dinner again, this time back at La Piazza. When they arrived, the same waiter smiled and led them to the same table. But this time a small velvet box sat in the center of the table. Emily's breath caught. "Alexander?" He knelt down just like that first night when he'd spoken to Liam, only this time he looked up at both of them. "Emily, you and Liam came into my life when I least expected it. You showed me what love really means. You gave me a family." Liam's eyes widened as Alexander opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "So," Alexander said, smiling, "can I be a part of your family, officially this time?" Emily's tears flowed freely as she nodded. Yes, you can." Liam threw his little arms around them both, laughing. "We're a family now." And as they held each other, the lights of the restaurant glimmered around them, the same place where it had all begun, with a single text and a mother's courage to ask, "I brought my son, is that okay?" This time she knew the answer. It wasn't just okay, it was everything.